You ever have one of those moments where you know, deep down, you just made a big mistake? That was me the second I stepped out of the haunted house attraction. It was supposed to be fun. Just a silly night out with friends. Something spooky but fake. Actors in makeup, plastic skeletons, cheap sound effects. Nothing real. But something felt wrong the moment we entered. I didn't say anything at the time. I didn't want to ruin the mood. Everyone else was laughing, taking selfies, pretending to be scared. But I felt watched. Not by the actors. By something else. One room in particular stuck with me. It was small, with peeling red wallpaper and this weird, moldy smell. There was a broken chandelier hanging too low, almost brushing my head. And in the corner, there was a chair. Just one. Facing the wall. No jump scares. No loud music. Nothing happened. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at that chair. My skin felt cold. My legs were shaking. The others had already moved on to the next room, laughing. I wanted to leave. I tried to leave, but it felt like something wanted me to stay. Eventually, I forced myself to walk out. The feeling passed. I didn't say anything. Maybe I was just overthinking. That night, I went home. Normal apartment. Warm lights. My cat, Nino, curled up on the couch. Everything was fine. Until I went to bed. At 3:12 a.m., I woke up with a start. No sound. No nightmare I could remember. But the room was freezing. And it smelled wrong. Moldy. Like damp wood and something rotting. I sat up slowly. That's when I noticed the wall across from my bed. It had wallpaper. Peeling. I don't have wallpaper in my room. I got up, heart pounding, and turned on the light. Gone. The wallpaper was gone. Just my usual white wall. Smooth. I stood there, frozen, trying to convince myself it was a dream. A trick of the light. Something. The next morning I laughed it off. Told myself I was just tired. Maybe still rattled from the haunted house. It made sense. Sort of. But that chair. I kept seeing it. Out of the corner of my eye. In reflections. In dreams. Just a single wooden chair, always facing away. Always in the corner of whatever room I was in. Once, I swear I saw it in my kitchen. But when I turned on the lights, nothing. I didn't tell anyone. I mean, how could I? It sounds crazy. Chairs, wallpaper, smells? But something came home with me. Something from that house. And I think it's rebuilding itself. Inside my home. Piece by piece. While I sleep. While I look away. And the worst part? I don't think it's going to stop. I didn't plan to go back to the haunted house. I thought leaving it behind was the end of it. But the house didn't care what I planned. The second night was worse. It started with the sound of footsteps. Not heavy ones. Wait, careful. Like someone trying not to wake me. I live alone. Just me and Nino. But I heard them. Moving from the kitchen to the hallway, then stopping right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath. I didn't move. The sound stopped. No knock. No voice. Just silence. Then I heard something even worse. The door creaked open. Slowly. But when I looked, nothing was there. The door was wide open. But the hallway was empty. I told myself it could have been the wind, or a draft, or whatever excuse I could grab onto. I turned on every light in the apartment, checked every room, every closet. Nothing. Until I walked past the bathroom. I stopped. I looked in. And I swear, the mirror wasn't mine. It was taller, older, framed in black iron with little rusted patterns curling into each other. My mirror is flat, rectangular, clean. But this one? It was the same mirror from the haunted house bathroom. I stood there for a long time, staring at my reflection. It didn't feel like mine. Like the person in it was off by a second. Almost copying me, but not quite. I blinked. The mirror blinked a second too late. I slammed the door and ran to my room. The next morning, it was gone again. The mirror was back to normal. My apartment looked normal. But nothing felt normal. Nino kept hiding under the couch. He wouldn't eat, wouldn't come when I called. He just sat there, staring at the wall. The same spot. Over and over. Sometimes hissing at nothing. I tried to distract myself. I cleaned. I played music. I FaceTimed my best friend, Mia, and told her I hadn't been sleeping well. I left out the mirror part, and the footsteps, and the wallpaper. She told me I needed fresh air. So I went outside, took a walk. That's when I saw it. 2 blocks away from my apartment, tucked between an empty lot and a closed bookstore. A house. Well, rusted gate. Overgrown lawn. It shouldn't be there. I know my neighborhood. There's no house there. But now there was. And it looked exactly like the haunted house from the attraction. Same dark wood. Same cracked windows. Same red front door. And through one of the windows, I saw the chair. Just one. Facing the wall. I didn't go closer. I didn't even breathe. I just turned around and ran home. But when I got inside, my hallway was longer, deeper, too deep, and at the very end of it, a door I've never seen before. Quote, waiting. The house isn't just following me anymore. It's growing. I didn't open the door. Not that night. I just stood there, staring at it. It looked old, too old to belong in my apartment. The wood was dark and splintered, with a brass doorknob that had turned green around the edges, like it had been sitting in rain for years. I took one step toward it, then stopped. I don't remember going to bed. Honestly, I don't even remember turning around. It's like the moment I looked away from that door, my brain shut off. When I woke up, it was morning, and the door was gone, but the hallway was still longer than it should be. I tried to brush it off, again. But let's be honest, I was lying to myself. Something was seriously wrong. My apartment wasn't just haunted. It was changing. Like something was building itself inside my space, one brick, one memory at a time. And I was letting it. That day, I went to work like nothing was happening. I stared at my computer screen for hours and barely typed a thing. Everything around me felt fake. Too bright, too loud. Like the world outside the apartment didn't belong to me anymore. When I got home, Nino was gone. I checked everywhere, under the bed, inside the cabinets, behind the couch. Nothing. I even stood in the middle of the living room and called for him. Over and over. Nothing but silence. Until I heard the scratching. So faint. Coming from inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the living room wall. My heart dropped. The scratching wasn't random. It was steady. Like claws dragging in slow, perfect circles. Then it stopped. And I heard breathing. Right on the other side of the wall. I backed away and turned all the lights on. That's when I saw the wallpaper again. The red one. Peeling, curling at the corners. This time, it covered half the hallway. Like it had always been part of my home. I tried to rip it down. I really did. I clawed at it until my fingers bled. But it wouldn't come off. It felt like skin. I locked myself in my room. Told myself I'd sleep. That maybe in the morning, it would all be gone again. At 2:47 a.m., I woke up to knocking. 3 soft knocks. Not at my front door. At the wall behind my bed. And a voice whispered, "Let me finish building." I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I just sat there, staring at the wall, waiting for the next knock. But it never came. Just silence. The kind that breathes. The kind that waits. I didn't go to work the next day. How could I? There was a door in my hallway again. Same old wood. Same green brass handle. Same hum behind it, like the air on the other side was alive and waiting. Only this time, it wasn't at the end of the hallway. It was right outside my bedroom. I didn't open it. Of course I didn't, but I couldn't stop looking at it. I spent the whole day pacing. Every hour I checked. It never moved, never opened, but it was there, like it was watching me. By the afternoon, my lights started flickering. Then the power cut out completely. I sat in the dark, listening to the ticking of the old grandfather clock I never bought. It was in the corner of the living room now, wooden, covered in dust. I stared at it, trying to remember if it was part of the haunted house attraction. I think it was. Somewhere near the stairwell. There's no stairwell in my apartment, but somehow I knew there would be. So, around 6:30 p.m., I heard something moving behind the new door. A dragging sound, like someone pulling a heavy sack across the floor. So, what? I didn't breathe. I didn't speak. And then, I heard Nino, the soft meow, from behind the door. I almost opened it. My hand touched the knob. It was ice cold. My chest tightened, my fingers shook. That meow. If you've ever had a pet, you know their voice. Their cry. It was him. But something stopped me. Not fear. Instinct. Something in me whispered, if you open that door, you won't be the only one living here anymore. So I backed away. And I heard him meow again. Longer this time. Sadder. Then the dragging started again. Fading. Like he was being taken deeper. I screamed. Punched the door. But I didn't open it. That night, I fell asleep in the bathtub. I locked the bathroom door and curled up in a blanket like that would help. Sometime after midnight, I heard footsteps. In my apartment. Not soft, like before. Heavy now. Confident. They walked down the hallway. Stopped at the bathroom door. Silence. Then a whisper, right at the crack under the door. You should have let me in. I bit down on my fist to stop myself from making a sound. The footsteps walked away. In the morning, the door was gone again. But the hallway was even longer. And on the wall above the couch was a framed picture of me, standing in that red wallpaper room, smiling. I never took that picture. I stared at the photo for a long time. It was me, no question. Same clothes I wore at the haunted house. Same hair, same nervous smile. Only, I didn't remember smiling. And I definitely didn't remember anyone taking a photo. Behind me in the picture was that same red wallpaper. That same broken chandelier. That same empty chair facing the wall. But the worst part? There was someone else in the photo. Half hidden in the shadows. Blurred. Standing just behind my shoulder. I didn't see them at first. It was like my brain refused to look. But once I noticed, I couldn't unsee it. I ripped the photo off the wall. Shoved it in a drawer. Slammed it shut. But I felt it. Like the image was still burned into the room somehow. Like I wasn't alone anymore. That night, I tried to call Mia again. I had to tell someone. I didn't care if I sounded insane. But the call wouldn't go through. Just static. Over and over. No signal. Not even Wi-Fi. And when I looked at my phone, the date was wrong. It said October 31st. It wasn't Halloween. I checked my laptop, same thing. My calendar, my wall clock, even the microwave. All showing Halloween night. The haunted house night. The night this all started. The night I brought something back. I ran to the front door. Tried to leave. But when I opened it, the hallway outside my apartment was gone. In its place, more house. Old floorboards. Dusty wallpaper. Cracked frames along the walls. I recognized it. Room by room, the haunted house was here. Growing outside my own front door. Like it had always belonged. I slammed the door shut. Locked it. Bolted it. Pushed a chair in front of it. Like that would matter. Then I sat down. Right on the floor. Shaking. And I realized something. This wasn't about fear anymore. It was about replacement. The haunted house wasn't haunting me. It was replacing my home. Every wall, every room, every inch. My apartment was vanishing. Being overwritten. Like I'd stepped into something cursed, and it had decided I belonged to it now. And the worst part? I started recognizing the rooms that hadn't even appeared yet. I knew what was coming, because I'd seen it, walked through it, every hallway, every ghost. And now, I wasn't the visitor anymore. I was the exhibit. I tried to stay awake all night. I thought if I didn't sleep, maybe the house wouldn't grow. Maybe it needed me to let my guard down, to dream, to forget. But around 3 a.m., I blinked. Just once. And when I opened my eyes, the ceiling above me wasn't mine. It was wooden, with water stains spreading like veins. A cobweb swung slowly in the corner, and I could hear something dripping. Drip, drip, drip. I sat up. I was no longer in my bedroom. I was in that room. The red one. Peeling wallpaper. Broken chandelier. The chair. Facing the wall. I wasn't dreaming. I could feel the cold floor under my bare feet. Smell the rot in the air. I could even hear the chandelier creaking slightly above me, like it was swaying even though the air was still. And then I heard breathing. Not mine. From behind the chair. Shallow. Slow. What? I stood there, frozen, watching the back of it like it might move. Like whatever was behind it was waiting for me to speak first. But I didn't. I backed away. Step by step. The wallpaper whispered as I moved, literally whispered, soft voices muttering things I couldn't understand. Like 100 conversations happening behind the walls all at once. And then, the chandelier above me crashed to the ground. I screamed, ran through the nearest door, any door, and found myself in another room. A hallway this time. But it wasn't random. It was my hallway. My apartment's hallway. Only now it was longer. Narrower. No windows. And the wallpaper had spread across both walls like a disease. I ran toward the end of the hall. But it kept going. And going. And going. Until I saw a mirror. Not mine. That same tall, iron-framed one from before. And this time, my reflection wasn't me. It looked like me, but it wasn't. It smiled when I didn't, tilted its head when I stood still, and then it stepped closer, toward the glass, while I stood frozen in place. Its mouth opened, and in my own voice, it whispered, "You're inside now. You're not going home." I turned and ran. Didn't care where. I just needed to get away. When I burst through another door, I fell. Not onto a floor, onto stairs. Spiral stairs. There was no second floor in my apartment. But here I was, falling up, or down. I don't know anymore. When I finally stopped moving, I was on the floor again. My actual apartment floor. Lights on. Quiet. Still back to normal. But something was different. The walls looked the same, but I knew they weren't. The shadows were too deep. The corners too dark. The silence too perfect. I crawled to the mirror in my hallway. The real one. The one I had owned for years. And I touched it. It was cold. But my reflection wasn't there. Just a wall. Behind glass. And I finally understood. I hadn't escaped. I'd been absorbed. Now there's something else walking around in my skin. Smiling with my face. Talking with my voice. Living my life. And I'm still here. Somewhere inside the house. Watching. The worst part isn't the fear. Not anymore. It's the silence. The kind that stretches between the walls like a living thing. The kind that waits. Watches. Listens. I haven't seen daylight in. I don't know how long. Time doesn't move here the way it used to. I'll blink and hours will pass, or nothing will. Sometimes I swear I'm stuck in a single second, looping, looping, looping. I tried marking the walls to keep track of time. I scratched little lines with my fingernails, just to see how long I'd been here. The next time I looked, the marks were gone. But the wallpaper had spread a little farther. That red pattern, it's everywhere now. Like veins, crawling up the walls, twisting into shapes that almost look like faces if you stare too long. I hear voices through it sometimes. Not words, just soft humming. Whispers pressed against the paper like people are on the other side, mouthing secrets they know I can't hear. Sometimes I press my ear to it. Once I heard myself crying, begging. I think it's memories. Echoes of things that haven't happened yet. Things it wants to happen. I walked through the kitchen yesterday, or at least where the kitchen used to be. Now it's a narrow, windowless room lined with old cabinets. Every time I open one, I see something different. Sometimes it's just dust. Other times, it's photographs of me I never took. One showed me sleeping. Another, sitting at the table, staring at something just out of frame. One cabinet held a phone. My phone. It was on, showing a video. Standing in the center of the red room. Smiling. Talking. Only my voice was layered. Like two people speaking at once. One said, "You shouldn't have come." The other said, "You've always been here." I smashed the phone. But the screen didn't crack. It just blinked. And started playing the video again. Every day, more of the house appears. I turn corners that shouldn't exist. I find staircases that wind in circles and lead me back to the same hallway I started in. There's a library now. I never had one. Every book is blank. Except for one. It was sitting on a pedestal in the center of the room. A red leather cover. No title. Inside, only one sentence, written over and over. "You are the house." The words are starting to make sense. I don't mean that in a good way. I mean I'm starting to feel it. Inside me. Like walls growing behind my ribs. Like the house is sinking into my skin, my thoughts. I wake up and don't recognize my own voice. Sometimes I hear myself say things I didn't think. Or I'll see something move in the mirror, but I'm not moving. I think the house is learning me, copying me, replacing me. And the real me is fading. Like wallpaper peeling off a forgotten wall. Like furniture left behind. Like an echo that no one hears anymore. I woke up standing. In the hallway. I don't know how I got there. One moment I was lying down, trying to remember my own name, and the next, I was just there. Upright. Breathing slow and steady like someone else was controlling my lungs. The hallway had changed again. Longer, but also wrong. Tilted. Like the whole thing leaned slightly to the left. Every picture frame along the walls showed the same image now. That red room. Different angles. Same chair. Same shadows. And in each frame I was in the photo, but never in the same pose. Sometimes facing the wall. Sometimes sitting in the chair. Sometimes smiling too wide, like my mouth was remembering how to be a person. I tried to look away, but the pictures followed me. Literally. As I walked, the images shifted. My head turned in each one. My eyes followed me from frame to frame. And then I heard it. The music. Faint piano. Notes played slowly, like someone was figuring it out one key at a time. I followed the sound. Through a door that didn't used to be there. Down a hallway I didn't build. Into a room I hadn't seen before. A parlor. That's what I called it in my head, because that's what it felt like. Dusty armchairs, a cracked fireplace, torn curtains that moved without wind. And a piano. Bentwood, black, shining faintly in the low light. Someone was playing it. I say someone because the keys were moving, even though no one was sitting at it. But I felt them there. Not in sight. But right behind me. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because I knew, if I looked, I'd see myself. Not how I am, but how I'm becoming. The version the house is building. The one that doesn't leave. The one that belongs. The music stopped. And a voice, mine, but older, whispered, "You're almost ready." Ready for what? I didn't ask. I couldn't speak. I ran. I ran through the parlor, through the doors that moved when I touched them. This house bends for me now. Or maybe I bend for it. I don't know anymore. I ended up back in my bedroom. Except it wasn't mine. The bed was made. But the sheets were too neat. Like a hotel room that no one actually lives in. And there, on the pillow, sit perfectly still. Too still. I rushed to him, touched him. He was warm, breathing. He opened his eyes and looked up at me, but they weren't his eyes. They were mine. And he spoke, in my voice. "You let us in. Now we let you stay." I screamed, fell back, knocked over the lamp, but the light never even flickered. When I looked up again, Nino was gone. Just the impression of his body on the pillow, like something had borrowed him for a moment, to deliver the message, to show me what was next. I think the house is almost finished now. The lights don't work anymore. The windows show nothing but fog, and my reflection no longer copies me. It leads, and I follow. I stop trying to tell what day it is. The clocks don't move anymore. The calendar resets every time I blink. I gave up counting how many rooms have appeared. It's endless. Corridors twisting into rooms I've never seen before. Attics filled with toys I never owned. Bathrooms with faucets that drip black water. Closets that go down instead of back. I don't sleep anymore. Not really. I close my eyes sometimes. But when I wake up, I'm never in the same place. And something's always changed. Last time I opened my eyes, my hands weren't mine. They were older, wrinkled, fingernails cracked like they'd been clawing at wood for decades. They went back to normal after a while. But now, when I look in mirrors, if I even find one, I don't always see myself first. Sometimes I see that thing, the version of me that smiles without blinking, that stands just a little too straight, that tilts its head like it's studying me the way I used to study it. Last night, or what I think was night, I heard footsteps again. Heavy, confident. But this time, they didn't stop at the door. They came in. I was sitting in the living room, what's left of it, trying to remember the sound of outside traffic, the hum of city lights, music. Then the footsteps entered, and I felt them before I saw anything. The floorboards groaned like the house itself was nervous. Then a shadow passed over the wall. Not fast, slow, like it wanted me to see it, to expect it. I didn't move. And then I heard my own voice again. "The house remembers you." It came from the hallway. I didn't answer. It stepped closer. I still didn't turn around. Then, next to my ear, like it was breathing through the wall, it whispered, "It was always you." And I swear, I remembered. A flicker. A moment. I saw myself in line at the haunted house. Laughing. Nervous. Holding my phone. Taking selfies. And just for a second, I wasn't in line. I was watching the line. From a window. Inside the house. Waiting. Choosing me. I stood up slowly. The hallway stretched out ahead of me like a throat. The lights flickered, then dimmed to red. And at the end of the hall, there I was. Smiling. Wearing my clothes. Standing completely still. Not a copy. Not a ghost. But more complete. More at home. Like she'd been here longer. And she raised her hand, beckoning. Inviting. I didn't run this time. I walked toward her. Because deep down, I think I knew the truth. This wasn't a curse I brought back with me. It was a return. And the house? It isn't following me. It was waiting for me to come home. I stepped closer to her, the other me, and the hallway seemed to close in, walls breathing, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her smile didn't falter. Her eyes were calm, almost kind. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," she said, voice soft but echoing inside my chest. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think this was the end. But the air thickened, and the wallpaper's red veins pulsed faster, spreading shadows that crawled at my feet. Suddenly, the floor beneath me shifted, like a trapdoor opening. I looked down, and I wasn't standing on wood anymore. I was on thin air. The hallway stretched into darkness below me, endless and hungry. I stumbled backward, arms out, searching for something solid. But the walls had changed. They were closing in. And then I heard it. That whisper again. From everywhere and nowhere. "You are the house now." I fell. Not down, but into myself. Like a hollow shell collapsing. And the last thing I saw before everything went black was that other me. Not smiling anymore. Just waiting. Patient. Because some doors don't close. And some houses never let you leave. I woke up gasping, but I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was inside the house. Every wall was the same faded red wallpaper, every floorboard creaked beneath me, every shadow moved just out of sight. I tried to call out, but my voice was gone, like it had been swallowed by the walls. I looked down at my hands. They were pale, translucent. I wasn't a person anymore. I was part of the house. A whisper floated past me. "You belong now." I tried to run, but the halls shifted. Rooms appeared and disappeared around me, trapping me like a maze with no exit. And through it all I felt her, the other me, watching, waiting, smiling, because this isn't just a haunted house. It's a prison, and I am its newest ghost. Days, weeks, maybe months, I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't exist inside these walls. The house shifts and changes, but I remain trapped, watching the rooms rebuild themselves around me. Sometimes I catch glimpses of the outside world through cracks in the wallpaper, faint lights, distant sounds, but I can never reach them. I try to call out, but my voice is just an echo, swallowed by the house's hungry silence. I see shadows moving, hear whispers calling my name, but when I follow them, they vanish like smoke. I realize now, the house isn't just a place. It's alive. It's feeding on me, on my memories, on my fear. It wants me to forget who I am, to become part of it. But somewhere deep inside, a small spark of me still fights. I don't know how or if I'll ever escape. But I do know this: the house won't let me go. Because once it follows you home, it never stops. I don't know how many times I've walked these endless halls, but tonight something changed. The walls whispered louder. The shadows gathered closer. And in the corner of a room I never noticed before, there was a door. Old wood, green brass handle. The same door. The one that started it all. I reached out. My hand trembled, but I grabbed the handle. It swung open. Beyond it was nothing but darkness. But I stepped inside anyway. And as the door closed behind me, I realized, this isn't the end. It's only the beginning. I stood in the darkness beyond the door, heart pounding so loud I thought it might burst. The air was thick and cold, pressing against my skin like a heavy fog. I took a cautious step forward, and the floor beneath me felt solid, but ancient, like old wood creaking under years of forgotten footsteps. Slowly, dim light began to glow ahead. Faint outlines of walls appeared, but they weren't like anything I'd seen before. They twisted and warped, like the house itself was alive and breathing. A voice echoed, soft but clear. "You came back." I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs didn't move. Then, from the shadows, she stepped out. The other me. Her eyes were hollow, her smile gone. She whispered, "Now we belong to the house forever." And I realized, with a chill that sank deep, this place isn't just following me. It's becoming me. I tried to fight the pull, but it was too strong. The walls around me stretched and twisted, closing in like a cage. I felt myself fading, like a flame flickering before it dies. But then, a spark, a memory, a breath of who I used to be. I focused on it, holding on tight. The other me reached out, but I pushed back. "No," I whispered, voice shaking but clear. "I'm not yours." The house trembled. The shadows recoiled. For a moment, the red wallpaper peeled away, revealing a small window. Outside, stars shone. I reached toward the light. And just as the house screamed in fury, I stepped through, back into my own world. But I know the house isn't done. It's waiting, following. And one day, it will come for me again. Days passed, or maybe only minutes. Time was slipping away like water through my fingers. But one thing was clear. The house had retreated, for now. My walls no longer bled red. The rooms felt like mine again. The air tasted lighter. Yet, every night when I closed my eyes, I see the cracks in the wallpaper crawling back. I hear the faint drip of that broken chandelier, and I feel that cold breath on my neck, the house reminding me it's still here, waiting, watching, because some places never let you go, and some houses follow you home, no matter where you run. Months later, I still live in my apartment, but I'm never truly alone. Sometimes, when the lights go out, I catch glimpses of those rooms, the red wallpaper, the broken chandelier, just out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes, I hear footsteps behind me, soft and slow, but when I turn around, there's nothing there. I keep the doors locked tight, but the house whispers through the walls, reminding me it's still inside. I've learned one thing for sure. No matter how far you run, no matter how much you fight, the house that followed me isn't just a place. It's a part of me now, and it always will be. Years have passed since that first night at the haunted house, but the story never really ends. Sometimes, when the wind howls just right, I hear the faint sound of that piano playing, slow, broken notes drifting through the air. Sometimes, I catch a shadow moving where there should be none. I've learned to live with it, to keep one foot in this world and one in the house that follows me. Because some stories don't have endings. They only have new chapters. And this one? Well, it's far from over. The house is inside me now. It whispers when I'm alone. It moves in the corners of my eyes. I try to ignore it, to live like before, but it's always there. Sometimes, I catch myself smiling without knowing why. Sometimes, I hear my own voice speaking words I don't remember saying. And I know deep down, the house isn't just a place anymore. It's a part of me. And no matter what I do, I can never leave. Because some houses don't just follow you home. They become who you are. I thought I was free. That the house had stopped chasing me. But I was wrong. It started small at first, just little things out of place. A door left open when I was sure I had closed it. Footsteps in the hall when no one was there. A cold breeze in rooms with no windows. Then one night it all came back. I was lying in bed when I heard the soft creak of floorboards. Slow, steady. Closer, closer. I froze. The darkness felt thicker, heavier. Then I saw it, a shadow at the edge of the room. Not clear, but moving. Watching. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow stepped forward. And suddenly, the room around me began to change. Walls stretched, colors faded. The air smelled old, like dust and something rotten. I was back inside the house. Not just in my apartment, but inside that cursed place. I tried to run, but the floor turned into stairs, twisting, spiraling down into darkness. I held onto the railing, heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. At the bottom, I found myself in a room I had never seen before. The walls were covered with old photographs, pictures of me, in the house, living in the rooms, smiling and crying. But in every photo, there was something wrong. My eyes were empty, hollow. Then I heard the voice, soft, like a whisper in my mind. You belong here. I wanted to fight, but I was too weak. The house had me. It wasn't just following me anymore. It was taking me apart, piece by piece, room by room, and I was losing myself. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. But one thing is clear. The house will never let me go. Because it's not just a building. It's a living nightmare. And I'm trapped inside. The room with the photos stayed with me. I couldn't stop thinking about those empty eyes staring back at me from every frame. It was like the house was showing me what I would become if I gave in. That night, I tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Instead, the walls around me started to whisper, soft voices, almost like people talking far away. I leaned close, trying to understand. They weren't talking about me. They were talking about her, the other me, the one who smiled in the pictures, the one who stayed in the house. The house was alive. It wasn't just following me, it was building a version of me to keep inside forever. I realized then that the house didn't just want me to live inside it. It wanted me to be inside it, to forget the outside world, to lose myself completely. I stood up, shaking. The walls pulsed red again, closing in. I knew I had to escape, but every door I tried to open led me back to that room. The one with the photos. I touched one of the pictures. My fingers felt cold, and then the eyes moved. They blinked and looked right at me. "Come home," they whispered. I stumbled back, heart racing. But a part of me wanted to go, to stop running, to finally belong. I shook my head. "No," I said. The house laughed, and the walls began to shift again. The walls kept moving, closing in tighter, like they wanted to squeeze me until I disappeared. I backed away slowly, but the floor beneath me felt like it was melting, pulling me down. I heard the laughter again, low and cold. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was the house itself, alive and mocking me. I looked around frantically for a way out. Then I saw it, a small window high on the wall, too tiny for me to climb through, but glowing with soft moonlight. Hope sparked inside me. I ran toward it. As I got closer, the house seemed to fight back. The walls stretched, turning into thick vines that tried to grab me. I struggled, pulling free, my breath quick and sharp. I reached the window, pressed my hand against the glass. It was cold but solid. I screamed for help, but only silence answered. Then the window cracked, slowly like a spider web, and just before it shattered completely, I felt a hand grab my wrist. Not cold, or familiar. I turned. It was Nino, but his eyes weren't his own. They were dark, empty, like he was part of the house too. He smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was a warning. "Don't try to leave," he said. "I'm already inside you." And I realized the house was not just in the walls. It was inside the people I love. And inside me, no matter what I do, I can never escape it. The grip on my wrist was firm but strange, like holding a shadow made of cold smoke. I wanted to pull away, but I couldn't. Nino's eyes, dark and empty, locked onto mine, and I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. "Inside you," he repeated, his voice low, almost a growl. "We're one now." The room started to spin. The walls twisted, the pictures blurred. The red wallpaper faded into blackness, swallowing everything whole. I stumbled back, gasping for air that felt heavier with every breath. My chest tightened. My mind screamed to fight, to run, to wake up, but I was trapped between two worlds. Then, from the darkness, I heard it, the soft, broken piano music again. The same song from the haunted house. Slow, haunting, impossible to ignore. It pulled me forward, deeper into the black. Nino's smile faded. His grip loosened. "You belong," he said once more, voice barely a whisper. And then he was gone. I fell to my knees. The music grew louder. I knew I had to find the source, to face whatever waits in the deepest rooms of this nightmare. Because the house isn't just following me, it's waiting, and this time, I have to fight back. The piano music led me through endless darkness. Every step echoed like a heartbeat, slow and steady. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't stop. The walls around me began to change, shapes forming from shadows, whispers rising like a storm. Then I saw it. A door. Old, cracked wood with rusty hinges. It looked like the entrance to the deepest part of the house, the heart of it all. My hand shook as I reached for the handle. The moment I touched it, the music stopped. Silence crashed down like a wave. I pushed the door open. Inside was a room filled with mirrors. Hundreds of mirrors, all reflecting different versions of me. Some happy, some scared, some broken. But in every reflection, My eyes were the same, empty.
What?
A voice came from the shadows. Choose who you want to be. I looked at the mirrors, searching for the real me, but the reflections began to move on their own. Smiling, mocking, reaching out. I realized then, this isn't about escaping the house. It's about choosing which part of me the house will keep. And if I don't decide soon, I will be lost forever. I stood frozen in that room of mirrors, surrounded by endless versions of myself. Each one whispered different promises, peace, escape, power, but I knew none were real. My heart pounded as the reflections reached closer, trying to pull me in. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I had to fight. Not the house, not the ghosts, but the fear inside me. When I opened my eyes, I faced the mirror that showed the real me, the one who wanted to live, to be free. I stepped forward and touched the glass. It felt cold but steady. The room shook. The mirrors cracked and shattered one by one. The house screamed in rage, but I stood my ground. Light flooded the room, and suddenly I was outside. In my apartment, the red wallpaper was gone. The rooms were mine again. I was free, but as I looked at my reflection in the window, I saw a faint shadow behind me, and I knew this story isn't over, because some houses never stop following, and some fears never truly leave. I'm back in my life, but everything has changed. The house that followed me may no longer be visible, but its presence is always near. It lives in my memories, in the shadows at the edge of my vision, in the quiet moments when I'm alone. I learned that some places don't just haunt you, they become a part of you. They stay in your mind and your heart, shaping who you are. I don't know if I'll ever truly be free. Maybe the house waits for me, just beyond the walls, ready to return. But I've made a choice, to keep fighting, to hold on to myself no matter what. Because even when darkness follows, the light inside can still shine. And that light, that hope, is something the house can never take away.